You know, life after divorce isn't easy, but rebuilding my business and my life after divorce, that was a journey beyond belief. That was a journey like no other that I've ever experienced. And I had taken several hits back to back, and I'm going to get into it in this video. I'm going to be sharing my personal journey with you. I've actually shared it before. I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle. I'm going to get right into the meat and potatoes of it this time, and really take you back to a time in 2020 when the experience that I had felt like it was sending me on a, wow, probably the only time that I can remember in my life where I felt like if I were going to have a nervous breakdown, that would have been the time. In fact, I felt very close to having a nervous breakdown, and I am not someone who has nervous breakdowns and meltdowns and just, gets into a deep depression and can't get out of it and all of that. And so if you have gone through any tumultuous time in your life, if you have faced any significant challenges, if you right now are experiencing any setbacks, if you feel like whatever challenges and struggles you're going through, be it financial struggles or, job struggles, career, struggles, anything in business is happening, any aspect of your life at all, and you are in that rebuilding phase or headed towards the rebuilding phase, and it feels like it's nearly impossible, especially if you're a woman of age, if you're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s or beyond, a Gen Xer like me, then this video is for you. Okay? I'm going to really get into just those dark moments for me, when I really felt at my lowest, and how I took those obstacles that I was faced with as an opportunity to turn my life and my business around, and how I did it and how you can do it too. So if this is something that you feel would be of value to you, then stick around, of course. But before we get into it, I'm going to ask you to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode whenever I go live or drop a new video, okay? And I'm going to give you a moment to do that while I take a sip of my latte. I figured this would be a great time to just have a casual but candid and courageous conversation and cozy up in the car while we do it, okay? It's a beautiful sunny day, as you could see, but it is a little cool out, and I just wanted to have an intimate conversation, and so this sort of sets the scene. So, where do I begin? Well, I'll take you back to 2020. I might have to go back a little bit further in 2019. But let me just start at the top of 2020. So as we moved into 2020, as you are well aware, when I tell you, I call this the dreaded D's happen to me, okay? And I don't like to think that life happens to us as opposed to life happens for us. And in hindsight, you really can look back and say, that is really the truth. But when you're in the midst of it, right? When you're in the thick of it, the midst of the storm, the eye of the storm, it's like, yeah, that sounds good in theory, but since I'm living that nightmare right now, not so much, right? So that was the case for me. And so in 2020, the dreaded D's hit me back to back. Life sucker punched me. It hit me below the belt. And sometimes, that just really feels unfair, right? We're not prepared. We are ill prepared lots of times for unforeseen circumstances. And if it's something new that you've never experienced before, you might not really know exactly how to deal with it because it's not familiar territory. It's not a place you've been before, right? It's not a situation or a scenario you've had before. And if you are someone like me who is a high achieving woman, a proud woman, right? Someone who, we let ego get in the way, a lot of us. And I'm someone like you might be, who has had so many public successes. So many. I, have done well in my academic years. I have 3 whole degrees. I have lots of experience, 30 years of experience in corporate America. I've worked 25 years and counting as a nurse. I've worked for some very prestigious corporations. I have done some amazing work in that arena. I have just done really well for myself in my career, high 6-figure, earner. On top of, I had a great marriage going for myself. I was in a long-term committed relationship for nearly 30 years. We raised a family together, my wife and I. We were that couple that was just like put on a pedestal. We were couples goals for everybody in our circle. Everybody wanted to be like the T's, they would call us, right? We were just that couple. They were in love with our relationship. We were in love with our relationship. And I'm talking about they as in family and friends and our colleagues, our associates, our acquaintances, anybody who we interface with or interacted with, anyone who ever met us. They loved our energy. They wanted a piece of what we had. They wanted to know what was the magic, right? How did we make that happen? How were we together for so long? You don't even see that these days in heterosexual relationships. So the same sex couple, like doing the damn thing, like people were just blown away at what we had, right? We were real estate investors and diversified our portfolio, and we had over $1 million in assets, in just our young 30s. And wow, we just done so much. And and then I have the whole alphabet of soup of credentials behind my names and all the accolades. I've written a best-selling book, right? And toured the country, empowered a lot of women to, exit corporate America and start and grow their own businesses and empower themselves, right? And feel empowered. I've done so much. I've traveled the world. I've just done so much, and it just felt like, while all of that sounds great, I've rubbed elbows with key players, iconic figures, people like Lisa Nichols. And in fact, my book is backed by her, is supported by her, is published by Motivating the Masses, which is a Lisa Nichols company. I've just met some really wonderful, amazing people. I've spoken on stages. I've done the damn thing. I'm proud of the work that I've done, right? And that's something to celebrate. And we like to talk about, and we so more easily talk about those public successes, but not so much our private failures. Meaning, what's really going down in the background? What's really ailing us, right? What's going on internally? How are we hurting inside? Because sometimes those of us especially who are high achievers, it can seem as though we have it all together on the outside. We look so well put together, right? We drive in the high-end cars. We live in the suburban areas in a beautiful, affluent neighborhood. We have the fancy homes, the big square footage homes, and the land. We have it all together, it seems. We're great moms and daughters and sisters and aunts and grandmothers and what have you. It just seems like we're so well put together. But we know inside that we're crumbling. We know that internally we are sad. Our souls are sad. We feel empty. We're not fulfilled. We're not as happy and feeling as youthful and as vibrant as we once was. Our bright light is dimmed. And we're trying to scramble our way back to figure out how we can get back to where we once were. Right? Sure, socially we can show off and we can make it seem as though that we're doing great. And we can talk about the good times that we have had, and we can talk about, all of the wonderful things that have happened in our lives, but we don't necessarily, sometimes we feel too embarrassed, too ashamed, too afraid of judgment. What are people going to think when they know my truth, when they know my deepest, darkest secrets, when they know that, nope, I don't have it together at all. When I am failing over here, in my relationships, when my health is not doing as great as it should be, when I am experiencing bouts of depression. And so in 2020, that was my story. It's really hard to talk about your own failures when everybody else just continues to talk about their success stories. And then, so who are you to come in, be the Debbie Downer, right? Rain on somebody's parade and then let it all out about what you're going through and sharing your sob sad story. You know what I mean? So then we internalize it because it doesn't feel like it's okay to normalize the conversations around our failures. Even though I now look at failure as feedback and I use it as fuel towards my success, sometimes it's hard to look at it that way again when you're in the mix of it all. So in 2020, I experienced an unwanted divorce from the love of my life, not by my choice, by hers. And, I think the hardest part for me with that was the fact that we had already come so far. We've made it through some really tough times, individually and collectively as a family. We were burdened by so much, so young, so soon. That honeymoon phase for us in our early years, we were like 20 nothing when we got together. That ended for us very early on, and there was a lot of baggage. But gosh, we worked through all of that. All of it. So to get to a point where we're nearly 3 decades in, to let it all go for some very seemingly never-ending lingering issues, some residual effects that we were experiencing that really could have been fixed, if you will, dealt with on a deeper level by going to therapy. But see, we've got to have everybody to be a team player. And sometimes you just get tired of fighting the good fight. And that's really where we were. We were at a crossroads when we met. And we sort of separated at a crossroads when we started to grow apart. It was difficult for me to start over after divorce because now I'm 50 years old. I'm 54 now, but at the time in 2020, and I'm headed towards 55 actually this year, but in 2020 I had just turned 50, and we were inseparable. So I knew nothing else. Like, I had my independence, of course. I knew who I was, Katrina Marie. I knew who I was. I never lost myself in that relationship. However, you sort of define yourself by the relationship to some degree. Do you know what I mean? You, especially if it's a relationship like mine, like we truly, I know it sounds like, because a lot of couples, straight or same-sex couples, everybody kind of has their thing that they do separately. No, when I say we were inseparable for real, like we were one unit, okay? We everything about us, we moved together. We talked on the phone from, we woke up together, we went to work, we talked on the phone as we were driving to work, go to the gym together, on our way home from work, we're talking to each other, we're meeting up at the store together, we are, doing things, of course, with family together. We had the same friends, nobody had a friend who was single, everybody was a married couple. Like we went out together, we partied together, we traveled together, we did everything together. And people might say, that was unhealthy to begin with, but it wasn't for us. We needed each other. We wanted to have each other in that way. Like, it was so deep for us. Like, for us, it was healthy. We loved it. It was no problem. We didn't need breathing room, right? Now, that's not to say that we didn't do some things together, right? Or apart. As far as, okay, yeah, I could go to the grocery store alone, right? I could do things on my own or what have you. I can, there's certain things she did on her own as well that, if I was busy doing something or I had other things going on, then she would take care of it and vice versa. But we were the type of couple, like, we could finish each other's sentence. We thought the same. Our mindset was the same. Our dreams and goals were just as big and grandiose. Like, we were that couple. We were madly in love, and the world was ours. So when I say that this was one of the most heartbreaking things that I'd gone through, I really mean that. Then, on top of that, in the same year, of course, we had the devastation of our nation. I'm talking now the COVID pandemic, right? Now everybody is mandated to socially distance from one another, to stay inside. We didn't know what was going on. Is the world ending? Is this disease going to spread like wildfire? Is, what's getting ready to happen to our nation? What does this mean? Is this the end of us? We were having to mask up and glove up, and people were dying in record numbers. It was just very scary times. And at the same time, I was having a very dry season in business. And my team and I, we were working really hard on a project that we were launching, a new program. Since 2019, I want to say we were working on that for maybe between 8 to 12 weeks. And that was a long time. But we were putting our all into an online academy, a virtual academy that I had created, right? So we worked very diligently to make sure it was going to be everything to the people, the women that I served and catered to, and that I was inviting in to work with me. And when we launched, lo and behold, life keeps lifing. My ads account on Facebook, which is how I was really heavily dependent on Facebook ads at the time. It was how I was getting most of my clients. And so my Facebook ads account got disabled. Okay, there's another D word for you. And it took us a while, my Facebook ads team and I, to circumvent the problem. And so I had to figure out a way organically to make it work in the meantime until we can get ads running again. I was in insurmountable debt. Drowning in debt, more debt than I had ever been in before. And I was just devastated with so many things. I was having a decline in my health, going through bouts of depression. I didn't want to go deep into depression. I don't believe in taking medication for that. So I was just doing all the things that I know to do naturally and holistically to get well and to stay up and keep my spirits high and, not just get down in the dumps about myself. But I was just feeling so deflated and defeated and depleted and what is this? And I don't like to ask disempowering questions like why me? Why? I don't like to feel sorry for myself. But sometimes when you are going through so much at once, you do question why. Me? Why now? Why this? Why so much? And the reality is, why not you? Because somebody's got to go through it. Why not you? What makes you exempt, right? I had to ask myself the hard questions. I had to peel back the layers. And then, physically, my health was declining. I had weighed more than I'd ever weighed before. And I'm the type of person that I usually go the opposite direction. So if I'm having any eating, I won't call it an eating disorder, right? Because I don't have that, but, and I've dealt with patients who do, and I've had friends who have struggled with anorexia and bulimia and that sort of thing, real eating disorders. So it wasn't that for me, but I do tend to go the anorexic route, if you will, in that, I will feel so sick and disgusted inside with something that I might be going through that's really difficult to deal with, that I won't eat. So that's what I mean by anorexia, okay? Not that I was ever diagnosed with it, just that that's an anorexic thing, right? When you're just refusing to eat or eating very little. Because my appetite's not there. And my sleep patterns were off. Oh, not to mention, how can I forget? I was also hormonal, going through menopause. Was I postmenopausal by then? So I had gone through the perimenopausal stage. I wasn't even aware of it when I was going through it. Then I went through the menopausal period. Yes, because I was going through post-menopause, okay? So I just gotten over the menopausal state, and now I'm in the different phase of being post-menopausal. So hormones were just raging. They were everywhere. They were, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it. PTSD for sure, okay? So it was a hard time. It was a lot, you know? And I'm not even going deep, I don't want to make this an hour-long video, so I'm not going deep into every little thing that I just pointed out or touched on. But you can hear, right? You can see how that would just make someone feel so depressed. And because it was COVID times, I had a therapist. So when I started to feel like I need help, I need somebody to talk to, because you can talk to your family, you can talk to, a friend or two, someone you're really close with, but they don't always necessarily know what to say or what to help you do, or how to get you to think, or what to tell you to actually do to get out of this funk, right? From a medical perspective, from a scientific perspective, from a psychological standpoint, right? So when my health was declining, I was having all of these musculoskeletal issues, joint pain, foot cramps, like weird stuff that doctors couldn't figure out. And so I was like, you know what? There's just too much going on, okay? Mentally, physically, spiritually, everything was wearing on my soul. So I finally was like, I've got to get in touch with my therapist, who happens to be, now I was at the time in Atlanta, so who happened to be in Southern California, which is where I'm at right now, okay, as of this recording. And I couldn't get in touch with her at all. And I really needed somebody to talk to, who could understand, who could relate, who could tell me, what, from her lens, from a scientific or psychological standpoint. I needed a therapist to talk to. I needed to talk about mentally what was happening to me, how this was affecting me, how this was negatively impacting my life. Like, what do I need to do, doc, right? And there was no one but me and God. I couldn't talk to my recently divorced wife. Why? Because, oftentimes when we're going through things, this was so fresh for us. We hadn't healed through that yet. So how can I talk to the person who divorced me, who I was having problems with, that led up to the divorce? Like, we weren't seeing eye to eye already, right? She didn't want to go. She didn't believe in therapy, didn't feel that we had a need to go to therapy. And by now, I didn't always believe in therapy either, but by now I heavily believed in it. So we were just complete opposites now, right? In our thinking, in our mindset, in the way in which we got to the dream, in our goals and our aspirations, where we were once so together on it, so in alignment with each other. And now it wasn't that, right? So I can't talk to her. My son, he's sad, so he, if I talk to him, and he's young, I don't want to burden him, young, old enough to understand at the time, right? But nevertheless still young. And why would I talk to him about my problems? You know what I mean? So, and then my mother, who was my family, had a very difficult time dealing with this as much as we did. Our families loved our relationships. We are still all family, right? Her family's my family's her family. That will never change. The dynamics of our family relationships, and even now our relationship, we are still the best of friends, but we had to heal to get there. So anyways, but at the time, yeah, it was just, I don't even know, like it was a lot. It was so much. It's almost indescribable what I felt. So what I did to get out of it. Okay, I talked enough about the problems, so you get the point now of what was all going on. But the way that I had to take a sabbatical, a self-care sabbatical. I had to. By the time we got ads up and running again, that funnel that we created, that we built out, OMG, I knew it would work, but it worked. Okay, like I was getting so many countless women booking on my calendar, to the point that I was just like, oh my gosh, should I turn off the ads? Because I was not able to, almost like, not keep up with the demand of how many women came through my funnel. It was a webinar funnel. When they saw the ad, they saw I wrote, it was my messaging that attracted them. It was my picture, the images they saw, the video. And so they read my story, they related, it resonated deeply with them. I was talking back then about being broken, brainwashed, wanting to leave corporate America, being broken and brainwashed was like my messaging back then. Wanting to leave, and like I've always talked about exiting corporate America or starting your own business, right? Living your dream life, your dream lifestyle, your first class life. So my messaging was great. So many women saw the ad, clicked on it, watched the webinar for free. I didn't charge a thing for the webinar. I shared my story. They got to know, like, and trust me very quickly. And it was about 90 minutes of a seminar. In that seminar, or webinar rather, and in that, I didn't pitch anything. I had them book a call with me, complimentary call. And when I got on the phone with these women, it was heartbreaking. And I hadn't yet healed. So to hear their stories over and over and over and over and over again, it felt too close to home. How they were broken. These were, women who were C-suite executives, upper management, mid-level management, directors, working in company, Fortune 500, Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies. People who were doctors, women who were doctors and lawyers and therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. These were successful women, very successful women in their careers, academically, in, their health was, they were in great shape. They prioritized their physical health, but not so much their overall health, right? Their mental health, not necessarily so. They were so broken. They were some aspects of their lives they were neglecting, right? They were from the sandwich generation, like I am, where they were, some of them, taking care of their aging parents and their adult children and college children, right? Or college age children, those that they were putting through school. And they were doing everything for everybody, but they weren't doing enough for themselves. They were putting themselves on the back burner and losing themselves in all of it. And so, yes, while they were successful to some degree, right, in all of these other areas, there were some areas that were lacking, some areas that where they were neglecting, right? Some areas that, and especially putting themselves on the back burner, that was the most difficult part. So they really deeply resonated with me. They wanted to work with me, but I started to question, do I even have the capacity to work with these women, to help these women? Because I did share my sob sad to success story, as I like to call it. I did talk about my pain points that hit on their pain points. I did talk about, how I did share my public successes and my private failures. But I was still going through some of those things, right? And then there were some other things that were now newly added that I hadn't yet experienced before, like divorce, right? Because when I'd done the webinar, my wife and I were together. we started this business together. So the pictures that I shared, right? The photos, the images of us traveling, the places that we had gone, the book, the number one book that we had written, the bestseller, the houses that we bought, the real estate that we were investing in, all the things, the family, our families, all of those pictures, all of those videos, all of that storyline was around when I was married. So it would be very difficult for me at the time to take on these women who were looking up to me like the queen, right? Who's going to help us. She's our savior. And I didn't know if I really and truly had it in me to do, because I was an emotional wreck. I couldn't even say the word divorce without crying a whole river. Seriously, I was heartbroken. Heartbroken. So, but I did pull out of it because I went on a self-care sabbatical. I decided I wasn't going to do the group coaching program just yet. I just took it as a soft launch to validate through the sales that I was making and through the interest that I did have, through the number of women that I was attracting, as this is going to be solid. This is a solid program. So I took on the number of clients that I could take on one-on-one as VIP clients, and I gave them a VIP experience. Oh my God, that scared me. Oh my God, I guess that was a grasshopper. That totally threw me off. So I have my windows cracked. Okay, that took me right on out of the story. I had my windows cracked, and I just saw something hop up on my window, and I heard it hit my window pretty hard. And I thought maybe it was a leaf at first, but I realized it was a grasshopper. Oh, that scared me. Okay. Probably scared you too. Like, you don't see nothing going on. I'm in deep with this story, and here I go okay, girl. I don't do bugs, okay? I do not do bugs. So, if you didn't know that about me, I don't do bugs, I don't do bees, I don't do dogs, okay? Unless they're the little cute ones, and still, I don't want them hopping up all over me. Anyway, I digress. Okay, where was I? Whew. Okay, I took a self-care sabbatical, and that helped me out tremendously. That literally saved my life and my sanity and my soul. I got spiritually connected again. I was already spiritually connected, but I deepened my spirituality and my relationship with God. And I forgave myself for any part that I played in my own demise, right? I had to grieve, so I went through the 5 stages of grievance. I stayed in the anger and denial phase for a long time, but I eventually got to a place of bargaining, and I then eventually got to a place of acceptance. So it wasn't easy, but anything, that we go through in life, and as we are turning our lives around for the betterment of, of our own good, right? It's not easy, but it's worth it. And I was rewarded heavily for it. So I went on a self-care sabbatical, and I'll speed up the story now that we're at about 30 minutes, but went on a self-care sabbatical, and I took that time to heal for about 3 months. It was the best thing I could have done for myself. And I really got connected and in tune and in touch with who I was all over again, at the core of my being, my most authentic self. I reflected on my life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the past, my present, and my near and far future, my relationships, my love relationship, my marriage, my family relationship, my friendships, and also where I was, where I'd been, and where was I going? Where was I headed? What did I imagine for myself? What did I reimagine for my life? And what makes me happy? You know? What lights me up? What am I really passionate about? And so when I was able to ask myself all of these questions and answer them thoroughly and journal about them and do my prayer and my meditation and my affirmations and, just kind of get away from it all for a while, disconnect from social media and all the drama, all of the noise, and I just sat with myself quietly, just quiet and still, just to myself, with myself, by myself, for myself, and thought about myself and my life, I was able to get really crystal clear with where I was going. And there began my journey of rebuilding my life and my business and my brand. And when I got clear with that, when I had real clarity, I was able to then get around other people eventually, right? And I started to just, initially I didn't want to be around anyone because I didn't want the conversation to be had about my divorce and what happened and I just didn't want that conversation. I wasn't ready. Took me a long time to be ready. Took me a long time to finally get back online and talk about it. But as I started to share more openly, more transparently, like I am right now, I noticed how many women were really appreciative of my truth, because it allowed them to feel free and realize, I don't have to hide my truth. And I actually can be sharing my truth, my story, my journey, my message with other women and helping other people who are going through it right now. Now, I don't recommend you do it if you hadn't yet healed through it, right? You have to go through that healing process. But once you do, it is even more healing and more freeing, more liberating when you actually share. There's nothing to be ashamed of at all, because we're all going through something right now. We all go through something in life. It is inevitable, right? Life is a thing that happens when we're making plans. So I just want to say to you that if you're going through some tough times right now, know that this is just a moment in time. This too shall pass. The best thing about life is that, time keeps ticking, right? With or without you. It's going to go whether you go or not. It's going to move whether you decide to do anything with your life or not, right? But you have the opportunity to turn your life around if you choose. You just really have to make one decision and take one step. Make a new choice, one new choice. Do one action item every day to get closer to where it is you want to be. And that's really it. It's really as simple as that. And so if you are feeling down in the dumps and depressed and, just really in a sad place right now, girl, it's going to be all right. Write yourself some love letters, or at least a love letter, a couple of love notes. Look yourself in the mirror and do your affirmations every day. Listen to music. Music fills my soul. It is my first love. It changes your mood completely. Listen to the things, that lift your spirit, and do the things that bring you joy. And it looks like, I don't know what's happening with the sun here. It's almost like, I guess it's moved behind me now, or on the side, so I look a little more shadowed. So hopefully you can still see me okay. But just know it does take work, but A self-care sabbatical will do you some good. A career break will do you some good. Quiet, still, alone time will do you some good, and just really committing to your transformation and really being serious about changing the trajectory of your life. But you have to want it bad enough. You really have to. And so I guess that's what I really want to leave you with today, is that when, times seem tough, and I got notifications coming up here, so I want to just make sure I have those turned off. When you are ready, and you'll know when you're ready, take some time to just reflect, to journal, to write some things down, to reimagine and re-envision what your life could look like. And then, what are the activities that you need to do? Who are the people you need to know? What rooms do you need to be in? What do you need to do? What steps do you need to take to actually make it happen? I have had to rebuild my life a time or two or three, okay? More times than I care to admit. So this rebuilding phase is not new for me, but the way in which I decided to rebuild my brand has everything to do with my now newfound philosophies around hustle culture, which back in 2020 I totally unsubscribed from. And also, just my whole holistic approach, right? That's what my methodologies are about now. My teaching methodologies are all about holistic well-being. That I learned in speaking with all of those women. I had so much feedback, so much data, right? I used that as like a focus group almost. My market research. And I learned what they were going through and the depth of their pain. And I knew exactly what they needed. And I then realized I cannot just focus on helping women transition from corporate America. I cannot just help them start or grow a business. I need to address the whole woman. The whole entire woman. And nurture her soul. Teach her how to nurture her soul. Because we can have it all. And it means nothing if we're not deeply connected to who we really are deep inside, right? If we're not truly connected to, if we're not dealing with where the problems are stemming from, the underlying issues, if we do not work on healing ourselves internally, right? The wounds that are bleeding, the hemorrhaging that is going on internally. If we do not clear that up first, if we do not heal internally first, we can never expedite our external success. So it's more than just professional development. It's personal development, and with personal development comes healing. With professional development comes healing. So we have to find a happy medium. That's where we meet. So I hope you enjoyed this today, this conversation. Let me know if you've been through anything like this, what resonates with you, what hits home, what pulls on those heartstrings, what's keeping you up at night. And if there's anything, any clarification that you need, if you feel compelled to or open to sharing your story, or letting me know, like maybe a situation that you had, something you're going through right now, if you feel open, this is a safe space. And and I have actually created a community where, there's a safe space. And so if you don't feel like you want to share it in an open forum like this, you can always reach out to me personally, send me a message, send me an email. I would love to have the conversation privately. And if you want to work together and have me help, with building out what your first class life looks like, right? What your life, the life that you envision looks like, what holistic well-being means to you and for you, how you can rebuild your life and your business, your brand, and focus on you this year, I would love to be that beacon of light for you, right? That rainbow in the sky, that beautiful, bright sunshine in a dark, cloudy day, right? On a dark, cloudy day. And so let me know how I can do that for you. And if you'd like to work together, I'm more than happy to get on a call with you. And again, we can map out, give you a roadmap, really, a blueprint. Okay. So that's my time. I can hardly see myself, so hopefully you can still see me, and this video is longer than I intended for it to be. But sometimes, in order to really drive the message home and to really help somebody, we have to be vulnerable enough to go deep enough so that the people on the other side that we are called to serve and help will be bought into your story and understand that they're not alone in this journey. So if I've done that for you today, then I really appreciate it if you let me know, and do be sure to share this out with 3 other people, your biz besties, your entrepreneur entourage, your colleagues, your associates, whomever would be who would benefit from this story, this video. Be sure to share it out. Okay, so I'm going to tune out while you tune in. Be sure to watch the next video that YouTube recommends. As always, and until next time, I am wholeheartedly in this journey with you. Bye for now.